So, doing floor plans, like we talked about, alignment is really important when you get to your presentation boards, and the things will get nitpicked. So, the easiest way when you're doing floor plans to align them, if you're not really comfortable in Illustrator or Photoshop, is just to do them on a sheet in Revit rather than export them as individual images. So, I'm going to show a couple here. My basement I don't really use for anything else, so I'm not going to make a copy of this. What I'm going to do is just edit this to get it ready for presentation. So I'm going to highlight everything. I'm going to click filter, and I'm going to uncheck the stuff I want to see. I want to see columns, I want to see walls, and I want to see floors. Unfortunately, you can see we have 6 floors. We used that category for some of our outside stuff. So we're going to have to do this twice in a way. I'm going to say apply, okay. Now if I right click, I can start by hiding those elements. Now you can see I still have a number of things. And now if I go right to left, anything it touches will get highlighted, and I can hold control and I can add to that selection. And hopefully all this will work. It doesn't look like for some reason. Okay, it didn't grab that. Because of my selection. Okay, and it didn't grab this either. Alright, so now I have hopefully everything that's not the building. I could again hide it in view by element because we're using some of the same categories in our actual floor. Okay, so a couple things here. If your concrete looks like this, you should scale it because we don't want to see the repeating pattern. It doesn't matter for me because I'm going to do all this in hidden line. But you can see right now everything is not pochade. So we have to fix that in our visibility graphics. You want to make sure your properties are for the actual floor plan, not for a specific element. So just click on any of the white space, and right here we've got visibility graphics. If I open this up, I can select everything. And these first two are grayed out, but if I come down to this audiovisual devices, I can change the cut pattern. I click on it once and it gives me the option to override. And now I'm going to make it a solid fill. And if I say solid fill, the color, there's still no override. It doesn't do anything. So I have to change it to black. Say okay, okay, apply. And now if I slide this out of the way, you'll see everything that is being cut through. Oh, I didn't apply it. So I got to do that one more time. Again, select all. Do the cut patterns, override, solid, black. I'm going to say apply, and now I can't just close it, I have to hit OK. And then it'll save. So now this will show up really easily on my presentation board because I'm not confusing it with a lot of color. I'm going to go to my roof first because the main floor has stuff that I might want to use later, so we're going to make a copy of that. So for roof, it's slightly different because we're not actually cutting through in this version. And you can see our roofs are being cut off. So first I'm going to hide the stuff I don't care about, just so it's easier to see. I'm going to hide the scope boxes. Actually, I'll just do this, and I'll hide the entire category because that's just elevations and grids. Alright, so now it's pretty easy to see our roofs are being cut off. We have used our view range before to see below. We're going to use it again, but this time, let me scroll down a bit more. We're going to change the view range you can see right now it's cutting it off at 4 feet and looking down. We want to raise that, so we're going to change both of these here just to make sure we can see all of our roof and our skylights, and we're going to change them both to 15 feet. Now if I click apply, you can see now the roofs are visible. Alright, so I've got my roof, I've got my basement, they're both ready for presentation. You don't need to worry too much about how this looks, you know, as far as the materials, because we're going to see this material in your AXO. This is supporting information, so if you want to keep it clean, keep it black and white, that's fine. So main floor, again, I'm still might need this for other edits on the model. It's got a lot of information. So I'm going to right click, I'm going to duplicate it with detailing, not as a dependent. And now I'm going to start again with the process of left to right. Use the filter. So anything I want to keep, columns, curtain panels, floors. I don't want the generic model, that's our water feature. I don't want the rastered image. Stairs are also outside. So really it's just walls, floors, columns, all that good stuff. So I'm going to say apply, okay, and now I can hide a lot of it. And now I've got to come back again and do some of the stuff where we've used the same category, but we don't actually want it. So I'm going to right to left. I'm going to highlight as much of this as I can. And now I'm going to hold Control and do some more right to left dragging. And looks like I missed a couple things here. All right, I got that. And then the only things I want to add are these walls. And I think that's everything. We'll find out in just a second. All right. I'm going to hide the elements. All right, almost everything. That's fine. And I probably want to leave these columns, so I'm going to have to reveal hidden. That's fine. I'll just use this light bulb here. I'll click. And now I'll just unhide the elements. Alright, so I got my main floor, but again, we don't have any of the poche. We have to come into our visibility graphics here. Click all. Change the cut patterns. Make sure they're solid. Make sure we pick black. Some faculty are going to prefer dark gray. Click OK. Apply. Now if I just close out, it's not going to keep this. I have to click OK. I can't just close this window. That's a little odd. So what's happening here is we are seeing columns that are actually below this level. So to fix that, we got to go back to our view range. And we want to make it associated level. And now these aren't being cut because our cut height that we're choosing. So if you want to make sure that, you know, those are just hip walls, so it doesn't matter. If you wanted them cut for some reason, you could lower this 4 feet to 3 feet, and then they would show up pocheted. I'm not going to bother. All right, so I've got all of my floor plans. Now I want to get them onto a sheet. I'm going to go ahead and right click on sheets, say new sheet. I'm going to use this default to start. And I'm just going to use it as is for now. So what I can do is now I can come into my basement. I can drag it into that sheet if it will. All right, I'm going to have to collapse a few things here. There we go. And now you can see this is massive. We are never going to fit all three on here. So I need to come back to the basement. And based on the sheet size, if I'm going to stack them vertically, I'm going to need to come scroll down and change this to 1 inch equals 40 feet. Now if I come back here, you can see much better fit. I don't want to see this basement label. So while the property shows viewport, you just come in here, change your show title from yes to no. And not all of them that we drag in are not going to have that. So now I'm going to get my copy of my main floor, but first, to make sure they're all the same, I'm going to change the scale. Again, I used 1 inch equals 40 feet. Can come to roof, change it to 1 inch equals 40 feet. And I'm going to drag this in here. And this is something that Revit will do nice and easily for you. It is lining up the model to the model. And when you see this dashed line, that tells you that they're getting perfect alignment. So if I export this as a single image and put it into whatever layout software you prefer, I'm not going to have to play around once I get in there. I'm leaving a little bit of a gap so that I can label once I get there. Revit fonts are not great, so I'm not going to bother using them here. And I'm going to do the same with roof, drag it in. And now you can see it might look out of line because we have these barrel vaults over here, but this edge is consistent. We have a little bit of overhang from the roof, but these are technically aligned. Probably need a little more room for a label. Not that much though. All right, what else do we need for a floor plan? We need a graphic scale and north arrow. So I'm going to go back to my basement. I'm going to go to annotate and let's see. Right now this one doesn't. There are families on Canvas you can download. I'm going to try it here. Okay. Now I might have to get the ones off of Canvas. Yep. All right. So if you just go to Canvas, you'll download it and you'll load family, but you have to do it from the annotate tab. All right. I'm just going to go with the graphic scale for now then. I'm going to use a model line. I'm going to try and come from the edge of the building. Your dimensions will be your own. I'm going to turn off chain first. I'm going to go 15 feet to start. Or no, 10 feet. I'll make some vertical lines. I'm going to go 15 feet, so that'll give me a total of 25 for the next one. And 25 feet. So it gives me a total of 50. Again, I don't like Revit fonts, so I'm going to label this in whatever layout software. Once you've got them in there, if you highlight them all, I know we've shown overriding graphics in view. But you can also come up here where it says line style, and if I say wide lines, now these green model lines turn back to something that we want on our presentation. I'm going to turn off thin lines and they'll thicken up a little bit. If for some reason you wanted them even thicker, come in, override graphics and view by element, and now we can say line weight, let's put it up to 7, click apply, let's maybe try 11. 11's probably a little too much. So something like this is going to be thick enough that even once you get it small on a presentation board, you should be able to see it. And as I do the work here, it's going to show up on this. And you might be thinking, it's in the way. That's all right, because what I can do here is I can click on the title block or the sheet, and I can hide it in view. Now I have a nice, clean, fully aligned image. I can export it as a PDF. If you're going to do that, you want to make sure you're on vector processing, and just always do zoom 100. And then that way, if it's a vector, you can scale it up or down on your presentation without impacting the quality. You cannot do vector with any graphics other than hidden line or when you have shadows on. So if you're doing a different graphic setting, instead of doing this, you're going to do a file, export, we're going to come file, export, we're going to hold over this until we get to images and animations. And again, we're going to do zoom 100. We don't want to be fitting to the page. We're going to make this either a TIFF or a lossless JPEG. And you want it to be at least 300. Don't forget, this is going to be just your file name, so you're going to want to click this and give it a unique name that you'll be able to remember, like floor plans. So those are your two export types, and then you will have that image ready to go for your presentation board.